Hello. Today I'm going to update you all on the first round of the Cutlers Chelation programme and protocol. I have finished my first round. So I did 3 days of 1 milligram, and that was DMSA, DMSA, sorry. And I did the dosage every 3 hours, so you can do it every 4 hours, but I did it every 3 because I wanted to minimise any redistribution during the round. Since it's my first round, I just wanted to minimise any possible negative impact of it. So before I started, I was really scared to actually take my first dose, so I decided to take it at 7 in the morning. I'm quite a late sleeper, so I normally sleep until about 9 o'clock. So I thought if I wake up at 7, take my dose, I'm quite good at getting back to sleep. So I'll have my dose, go to sleep, and then I'll not have to take the other one until 10 o'clock in the morning. So I figured maybe if I take the 7 o'clock dose, then I'll be able to just kind of sleep through any effects that'll happen, if anything was to happen. So I was really nervous, like I said. Started on the Monday. I took my 7 o'clock dose in the morning and I fell asleep, and it was funny because a few hours before that, on that night, I had been like really dwelling on it and, you know, worrying about the next day, and I had a lot of dreams that I was actually due to take a dose and I had missed it, and I kept waking up all through the night checking my phone, and I had my my dosages next to me in like a capsule box, and I kept checking them thinking like, have I took a dose or not? Was I supposed to? Like half asleep, but thankfully I woke up at 7 to take the first one. So I took that and then I fell back asleep, thankfully. Woke up at 10 and I didn't really feel much different. I just felt a bit like kind of tired, just generally how I feel really. So I didn't wake up till 10 o'clock actually. I just put an alarm on for 10 for the next dose. And I thought I would struggle a lot with taking the doses at night time because I'm quite a heavy sleeper and I wasn't sure if I was going to wake up or not throughout the night. So I made sure on my alarms on my phone that I set like alarms to go off every 3 hours, but for us not to be able to snooze them. And if I did snooze them, they would just come back every 5 minutes until like I switched the whole thing off. So I had the 10 o'clock dose. Didn't really feel anything. Felt a bit like just normal, really, like not normal, but how I normally feel, you know. I felt still pretty down and spaced out and just like generally just fatigued and everything, but nothing more severe than usual. And I've been keeping a diary of how I've felt each day. So I took the doses every 3 hours on the first day. And I reported that, so physically and mentally I've wrote notes about how I felt. So mentally, not as anxious as I thought I would be, and fairly clean and clear thoughts. Normally my thoughts are quite like mixed up and erratic sometimes, so they were quite like quiet that day. I remember they were just like just a bit of nothingness really. I was jumping between emotions a lot, so I was actually laughing a lot more, but also crying at like things that I would normally cry about. Physically, I had shooting pains in my hands and my fingers, which is strange because I don't normally have that, but apparently wherever you get pain is where the mercury's pulling from as well. So perhaps I've had some, you know, in my hands. I felt quite cold as well, like internally, not able to get warm. Tiredness, headache, and I'm not one to get headaches usually, so that was more unusual. And I had tense muscles as well, and like tense jaw, like I felt like my jaw was aching. So nothing too severe really. And I did worry a lot after the 2 doses. I was thinking like I was expecting something terrible to happen. Like I just sat there and thought like, right, you know, I'm expecting just for me to just suddenly have a seizure or something, but literally nothing bad happened. The next day, more stable than yesterday emotionally, feeling a bit low at times and sometimes excited, but nothing too extreme. Not really anxious, just a bit numb. Physically I had tension everywhere, like my whole body felt tense. My jaw was aching, and then as well as my hands and my hips as well, and pretty much all my muscles were aching. So I've got fibromyalgia, which now I feel like is something to do with mercury as well. And I used to have it quite bad where I would have like a really aching back, and like muscular, I would just feel drained, like heavy. But it kind of got better like a few months before I got sick again, because I was doing some Pilates and some kind of exercising lightly and stuff. So that come back on the round more severe. I had a pretty bad headache as well again. Sinus tension, like I felt like my head was just like full and pressured. Muscles twitching as well. And then also I have often suffer from the ringing in my ears, and I remember before I went on round I was like had it really bad for the week, and it was like my ears would feel full of pressure as well and like full of water. But on this day I wrote that the tinnitus wasn't as bad, so I remember it kind of had faded off a bit, which was good. And that night, the night before, the first night that I had been on round, I managed to take all of my nighttime doses, even though I can't remember each one. I just remember waking up and kind of like gulping it back, just autopilot, and then waking up the next day and checking my dosages, because I've got them split into times and they were empty, so I've obviously took them. And I wrote that I realised that this is not going to be as scary as I thought, I hope. So 2 days are over with at this point, and I thought, you know, if anything bad was going to happen, it would have happened by now. So the next day was my final day on round, so it's 3 full days, 3 full nights, so it's my final full day. So my mood was not as optimistic as previously and more spaced out, quite depressed, but I don't know if that's to do with the chelation, because it's sometimes I get days like that anyway, and plus DMSA doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, so I kind of didn't really put that down to the chelation, although some people have reported to feel emotionally better, you know, taking DMSA, but for me I feel like it's too much of a low dose and it's not crossing that part to actually affect my mood, although a lot of your organs as well are linked to how you feel. And then physically I had twitching muscles again, aching and stabbing pains in my full body. I had like stabbing pains in my hands, I remember. Also I could taste metal a lot, and like a bitter kind of almost acidy metal taste. Tension, headache, and again very tired. So the report was one of those days I didn't really enjoy, dwelling on negativity, and taking dosages was okay, but I didn't rest very well because obviously getting up in the night again, so it kind of made the tiredness even worse, to be honest with you. But again, it was tolerable and I was able to bear it. Also it's worth mentioning that the day before I started this round I actually came on and got my monthly cycle, and that is normally a really big factor for my mental health during, and for me to be chelating and have that is and feel like able to, you know, tolerate what was going on is a really big win for me, and I don't know if the round actually helped with that. So the next day is my first day off round, so bear in mind as well, on the round I was taking a lot of, well, like I normally do, I take a lot of support for my liver, and I'll go into this on another video because there's so much to go over, but I take a lot of support for my liver and my adrenals, and obviously the core 4 that you need to be on as well I take, and pretty much I take a lot of supplements, so I was making sure I was getting enough of those as well during the round. And the day after, so the first day off round, anxious and low mood, just wanting to lie staring into space all day. I kind of, you know, you get those days where you're just like a zombie. I had no motivation to move, physically exhausted. The tinnitus came back that day as well. Pains in hands and back, sweating a lot as well, and a bitter taste in my mouth. I seen that as a good sign though, because I think if you react negatively or positively to a round, it means that you are mercury toxic, because you can't take a chelator, and if there's no heavy metal in your body, then nothing would happen, because it's not moving anything around. It's basically just going through your system and that's it. So you wouldn't react negatively or positively. So it's a good sign that I need to do this. So day 1 off round, just wanted to sleep all day. Wasn't as bad as expected, managed to keep myself together. So I kind of felt like I was able to put up with it. I mean, I've heard stories of people starting on a dose and just having to abort the round because they felt so bad. Luckily that didn't happen to me, and I feel like 1 milligram, it does sound very low, but some people can only tolerate 1/4 of a milligram, so I was quite thankful for that. The next day is day 2 off round. Emotionally feeling cut off from the world, feeling hopeless and empty, a bit happier in the evening. And again, my mood, I don't know if this is relevant to the treatment yet, because it's not pulling anything from my brain at the minute. Physically, I remember I had a bad day. I had a heavy and sore head, like, you know that feeling when you're hungover and you're really dehydrated and your head's just like banging. Had that. Restless and tired and low motivation, and sore hips and jaw. And I remember I was like pressing, and it's even still today, it hurts. I was pressing on like the kind of muscles around my hips and just felt really sore. Like lying in bed just felt so uncomfortable on them. And again, I have had that in the past before, and it's interesting to think that that's kind of connected to mercury coming from my body, because obviously it wouldn't have come back if that wasn't the case. I had a bit of nausea as well, which wasn't nice, because again I've had that in the past and it's been horrendous. Luckily it's gone now. This day I had a clay bath, and I basically like smothered myself in the zeolite clay that I've got and just lay there for about half an hour, because I think it kind of mops up some of the mercury from like your sweat glands from what I believe. So it's kind of like binds it, and then you wash it off. I wanted to sleep again all day. And also I had a lot of thiols that night, because I had like a wrap which had like cabbage and cheese and mayonnaise, which is eggs in it, as well as a few other things. But I've been trying to like avoid some thiols because I don't know if I'm sensitive or not. And again, this is another thing I'll go into in a different video, because this is all part of the protocol, which I'll explain. But if you know what thiols are, it's basically the sulfur compound in food that moves mercury around the body. Some people can tolerate them well and need that and feel better on them. Some people don't and feel worse, and there's a lot of foods that people can't eat. I haven't been strictly avoiding them, but I had a lot that night, so I wanted to make a note of that to see how I felt the next day. So this is day 3 off round. My mood was actually lighter and feeling semi-normal, as normal as I could feel at the minute. Bit spaced out when tired, normal thoughts. And physically that day I was absolutely exhausted, I remember. So when I woke up I had a nausea and hungover feeling. Don't know if that's to do with what I'd ate the day before, it could be. I had sudden exhaustion at tea time and I was extremely tired. I felt like I was just on the verge of like collapsing. I was like running on adrenaline. I was just cooking. I remember I just all of a sudden needed to lie down. And little things like tinnitus was back again, aching jaw, sore eyes. Like around my eyes here were like really itchy and sore. Again, I don't know if that's relevant. Acne as well, like I suffer really bad acne, and it was pretty bad that day. Like it doesn't obviously get a lot better than like usual, it doesn't just come and go, it kind of builds up, but that day it was like my face was just covered. So either the report was I had a less extreme redistribution mentally, but physically exhausted and absolutely like just done in, really. Actually had a glass of red wine that night as well and I enjoyed it. And probably shouldn't drink alcohol at the minute, like obviously I'm wanting to reduce the burden on my liver, but I hadn't drank in about a month and it was Halloween and I kind of thought like I'll have a glass of wine. Red wine's alright, I think, like probably good for you, better than like sugary rosé wine, I don't really know, it was only one glass. And I said that I feel like I need more ACE as well, which is the adrenal support. I only take one a day. I've only started taking it 2 weeks ago. So I feel like my adrenals need a bit more support. And then today, it's the end of the day. So I felt okay generally, anxious and confused about genetic test results. So I got my 23andMe test results back, which I'll do another video on. And I was checking my MTHFR and my COMT status. Some interesting things going on there, which I'll update you on in a different video. I'll bring up all the results and discuss them. I've actually bought Ben Lynch's book about dirty genes I want to read as well beforehand, because I'm not very educated on that aspect. I know it has something to do with detox pathways, and I do have a mutation in both of those, so which is pretty common. But I want to read more into it before I kind of go through that with you, because it's probably applicable for you guys as well, and I want to help you understand what you need to do. So physically, sometimes nausea, sore hands, jaw, hips, very lethargic and dazed, ringing head, like just felt like my head's like bzzz, like ringing. I had chest pains as well today, which is weird. Like I remember I've had those. I used to be a smoker, quit about 2-3 years ago. I think it was about 2 years ago, but I used to get chest pains a lot where it would just stab in my chest, and those come back today a little bit. I've had very little motivation as well. So today everything just felt neutral, and pretty like just dazed really. It's one of those days where I've just kind of like not really done much. I've just kind of got through the day. It's not been horrendous where I've been like noticing that I felt bad, but it's not been great. So that is my round 1 done. Tomorrow I'm going to go back on the round again. I figured that, you know, I might as well start another round. I'm not feeling horrendous, so why not just do another round and see how I go. I'll stick at the dose of 1 milligram for now, because judging by that, I think I had a few symptoms that were probably connected to the dosage. So I feel like I shouldn't up the dose like yet. Maybe I'll do this round, and if I feel a bit better this round, I might do the next round at 2 milligram. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't want to risk any negative, massive, you know, implications. So this round was kind of, it didn't help massively, but it wasn't horrendous. Like, I think in the first few rounds you're not going to really feel better, because it's just going to pull the mercury from your body and kind of like flush it out, but it's not a massive dose, or, you know, it's moving it about for the first time in a while. It could have been sat there for a long time, you know, like my hands and my muscles that haven't hurted in a while start hurting again. I feel like that's because it's been dormant in their muscles, and, you know, it's had to move from there. At least that's what I'm hoping it is. So I think until that's kind of shifted enough to feel better, you kind of are going to get some effects for a little while. I am excited to start the ALA which I'll do DMSA with, because again I feel like that's going to pick up some of the body's burden as well. I can't start early until I think it's the 21st of December, so I'll definitely like do some videos on that. But I think if you're scared to start, just do it and bite the bullet and don't even think about it, because like I spent probably 2 weeks beforehand really worrying and dwelling on what would happen. You know, I was thinking, am I gonna like go mentally worse? Is it gonna mess us up? And it's not really done anything like terribly negative. And I did actually have moments of feeling like pretty okay, like hopeful and optimistic and thinking, you know, like I can feel like this is gonna work. But it's just so soon to tell really. But I'm glad that I've got through my first round, because I know I'm okay with DMSA, at least at this dose, but I won't up the dose too quickly to have any effect anyway. So I feel like I needed to do a round at least, just to know that, you know, I'm not gonna die or crack up or something from it, or, you know, be trapped in this massive dissociation state, because it's not really been as bad as I thought it would be. Like, it's not been any worse than usual. And I did have days and moments there where I was like kind of not as spaced out and not as kind of dissociated and disconnected. So, but like I said, until I start early, I don't really think it's going to do a hell of a lot in terms of my mental health. But I still want to get rid of that body burn level of mercury anyway. So I'll do weekly updates on this. Round 2 is tomorrow. Again, I'm going to start at 7 in the morning and finish at 10 o'clock at night on the 3rd day. So that's 64 hours, I believe. And hopefully this will give you the courage to start if you haven't already. Or if you're, you know, waiting to get your amalgams out and you want some kind of walkthrough with it, because I was as terrified as you are now, like if not more. I was so nervous, but you know, nothing bad happened, and I'm prone to things happening to my body if I put something negative in. So I feel like it was overall I guess a positive experience. So just bite the bullet and do it. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on next week, and I'll do a video on the Sunday and let you know how it goes, and plan on doing one every week, unless, you know, I feel like I can't do with my chelation that week for whatever reason, but I just want to kind of crack on with it. So I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.